Mr. Brown's October precept. Mr. Brown's precept for October was, "Your deeds are your monuments." He told us that this was written on some tombstone of some Egyptian guy that died thousands of years ago. Since we were just about to start studying ancient Egypt and history, Mr. Brown thought it was a good idea for us to use this precept. Our homework assignment was to write a paragraph about what we thought this precept meant, or how we felt about it. This is what I wrote. The precept means that we should be remembered for the things we do. The things we do are the most important things of all. They are more important than what we say or what we look like. The things we do outlast mortality. Things we do are like monuments that people build to honor heroes after they've died. They're like the pyramids the Egyptians built to honor the pharaohs. Only, instead of being made out of stone, they are made out of memories that people have of you. That's why your deeds are like your monuments, built with memories instead of stone. Apples. My birthday is October 10th. I like my birthday. It's 10:10. It would have been so cool if I could have been born exactly at 10:10 in the morning or at night, but I wasn't. I was born just after midnight, but I still think my birthday is pretty cool. I usually have a little party at home, but this year I asked Mom if I could have a big bowling party. Mom was surprised but happy. She asked me who I wanted to ask from my class, and I said everyone in my homeroom plus Summer. Well, that's a lot of kids, Augie, said Mom. I have to invite everyone because I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt if they find out that other people are invited and they are not, okay? Okay, Mom agreed. You even want to invite that what's the deal kid? Yeah, you can invite Julian, I answered. Geez, Mom, you should have forget about that already. I know, you're right. A couple of weeks later, I asked Mom who was coming to my party. She said Jack, Will, Summer, Reed, Kingsley, both Maxes, and a couple of other kids said they were going to try to be there. Like who? Well, Charlotte's mom said that Charlotte had a dance recital earlier in the day, and she was going to try to get to the party at some time if it allowed. And Tristan's mom said he might come after his soccer game. So that's it? I said like 5 people? That's more than 5, Augie. I think a lot of people just had plans already, Mom answered. We were in the kitchen when she was cutting up the apples that we had just gotten from the farmer's market in teensy-weensy little bites so I could eat it. What kind of plans, I asked. I don't know, Augie. We sent out the evites kind of late. Like, what did they tell you, though? What reason did they give? Everyone gave a different reason, Augie. She sounded a little bit impatient with me. Really, sweetie, it shouldn't matter what the reasons were. People had plans, that's all. What did Julian give as an excuse? I said, well, you know, his mom said his mom was the only person that didn't RSVP at all. She looked at me and said, I guess some apples don't fall far from the tree. I laughed because I thought she was making a joke, but then I realized she wasn't. What does that mean, Mom? I asked. Oh, never mind, she said. Go wash your hands and so you can eat. My birthday party turned out to be much smaller than I thought it would be. But it was still great. Jack, Summer, Reed, Tristan, and both Maxes came from school. And Christopher came too, all the way from Bridgeport with his parents. And Uncle Ben came, and Aunt Kate and Uncle Poe drove from Boston. Though Tata and Papa were in Florida for the winter. It was still fun because all the grown-ups ended up bowling in the lane next to ours, so it felt really great, and it felt like there were a lot of people there to celebrate my birthday. Halloween. At lunch the next day, Summer asked me what I was going to be for Halloween. Of course, I'd been thinking about this since last Halloween. I knew right away. I'm going to be Boba Fett. You know, you can't wear costumes. You can wear costumes at school on Halloween, right? No way! Really? So long as it's politically correct. What, like no guns and stuff? Yeah, exactly. What about blasters? Well, Augie, I think blasters are like a gun. Aw, man, I said, shaking my head. Boba Fett has a blaster. In lower school, that's what we had to do, is not bring your weapon. Last year, I was the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. But that's not a movie, not a book. Hello? Summer answered. It was a book first, one of my favorite books in the whole world. Actually, my dad read it to me every night when I was in first grade. When Summer talks, especially when she's excited about something, she squints her eyes and she looks like she's looking straight at the sun. I hardly ever see Summer during the day since we only have English together. But ever since the first lunch at school, we've sat at Summer table together every day, just the two of us. So, what are you going to be? I asked her. I don't know yet. I don't know what I really want to go as, but I think I might be too dorky. So, Savannah's group isn't wearing anything at all this year. They think we're too old for Halloween. What? That's just dumb. I know, right? I thought you didn't care about what those girls think. She shrugged and took a drink of her milk. So what dorky thing do you want to dress up as? I asked her, smiling. Promise me you will not laugh. She raised her eyebrows and her shoulders, embarrassed. I want to be a unicorn. I smiled and looked down at my sandwich. Hey, you promised not to laugh, she laughed. Okay, I said. But you're right, that is too dorky. I know, she said. But I have it all planned out. I'd make the head out of paper mache and paint the horn gold and the mane gold too. It would be so awesome. Maybe what I'll do is wear for the Halloween parade, she said, snapping her fingers. Yeah, and I'll just be like a goth girl for school. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'll do. Sounds like a plan, I nodded. Thanks, Augie, she giggled. You know what's I like about you, the best about you? I feel like I can tell you anything. Yeah? I answered, nodding. I gave her a thumbs up. Cool beans. School pictures. I don't think anyone will be shocked to learn that I don't want my picture taken on October 22nd. No, thank you. So I stopped letting anyone take my pictures a while ago. I guess you could call it a phobia. No, actually, it's not a phobia. It's an aversion, which is a word we just learned from Mr. Brown. And I have an aversion to having my picture taken. There. I just used it in a sentence. I thought Mom would try to get me to drop my aversion and having my picture taken for school, but she didn't. Unfortunately, though, while I managed to avoid having my portrait taken, I couldn't avoid getting in the class picture. Ugh. The photographer looked at me like he just sucked a lemon when he saw me. I'm sure he thought I ruined the picture. I was one of the ones sitting right in the front. I didn't smile. Not that anyone could tell if I did anyway. The cheese touch. I noticed not too long ago, even though people were getting used to me, no one would actually touch me. I didn't realize it at first because it's not like kids go around touching each other all that much in middle school anyways, but last Thursday in dance class, which is like my least favorite class, Mrs. Antanabi, the teacher tried to make Exima Chin be my dance partner. Now, I've never actually seen someone have a panic attack before, but I've heard about it, and I'm pretty sure Exina had a panic attack that second. She got really nervous and turned pale and literally broke into a sweat within a minute. And when she came up with some lame excuse about readily having to go to the bathroom. Anyway, Miss Natanabe let her off the hook because she ended up not making anyone dance together. Then yesterday, my science elective, they were doing this cool mystery powder investigation where we had to identify and classify subjects as an acid or a base. Everyone had to heat their mystery powders on a heating plate and make observations. So we were all huddled around the powders with our notebook. Now, there are 8 kids in an elective, and 7 of them were squished together on one side of the plate, while me had loads of room on the other side. So, of course, I noticed this. But I was hoping Miss Rubin wouldn't notice this because I didn't want her saying something. But, of course, she did notice, and, of course, she said something. Guys, there's plenty of room on the other side. Tristan, Nino, go stand over there, she said. So Tristan and Nino scooted over to my side. Tristan and Nino have always been nice to me. I want to go on the record as saying that, not super nice. Like, they don't go out of their way to hang with me or anything, but they're okay nice. Like, they say hello to me and talk to me like normal. And they didn't even make a face when Miss Rubin told them to come to my side, which a lot of kids would do. They think I'm not looking. Anyway, everything was going fine until Tristan's mystery powder started melting. He moved the foil off the plate just as my powder began to melt too, which is why I went to move mine off the plate. And then my hand accidentally bumped into the hand a fraction of a second. Tristan jerked his hand away so fast that he dropped his foil on the floor, also knocking everyone else's foil off the heating plate. "Tristan!" yelled Mrs. Rubin, but Tristan didn't even care about the spilled powder on the floor and then that he ruined the experiment. What was most concerned about was that he was getting to the lab sink to wash his hands if possible. That's when I knew for sure it was something about touching me at Beecher Prep. I think it's like the cheese touch from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The kids in that story were afraid that they would catch cooties if they touched an old moldy cheese on the basketball court. At Beecher Prep, I'm the old moldy cheese. For me, costumes. For me, Halloween is the best holiday in the whole world. It even beats Christmas. I get to dress up in a costume. I get to wear a mask. I get to go around like every other kid in a mask, and nobody thinks that I look weird. Nobody takes a second look. Nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. I wish every single day could be Halloween. We could all wear masks all the time. Then I would walk around and get to know each other before we could really see what we look like under the mask. When I was little, I used to wear an astronaut helmet everywhere I went. To the playground, to the supermarket, to pick up Via from school, even in the middle of the summer. Though it was so hot my face would sweat. I think I wore it a couple of years, but then I had to stop wearing it after I had my eye surgery. I was about 7, I think. And then we couldn't find a helmet after that. Mom looked everywhere for it. She figured that it had probably ended up in the Grand's attic, but she kept meaning to look for it. But then I had forgotten it, and I'd been gotten used to not wearing it. I have pictures of me, all in Halloween costumes. First Halloween, I was a pumpkin. Second, I was a tiger. Third, I was Peter Pan and dressed up as Captain Hook. My fourth, I was Captain Hook, and my dad dressed up as Peter Pan. My fifth, I was an astronaut. My sixth, I was Obi-Wan Kenobi. My seventh, I was a clone trooper. My eighth, I was Darth Vader. My ninth, I was a bleeding scream that was had the fake blood over the skull mask. This year, I was going to go as Boba Fett. Not Boba Fett the kid in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but Boba Fett, the man from the Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Mom searched everywhere for the costume and she couldn't find one in my size, so she bought me a Jango Fett costume, since Jango and Baba's dad wore the same armor, and then painted the armor green. She did some other stuff to make it look worn, too. Anyway, it looked totally real. My mom's really good at costumes. In homeroom, we were all talked about what we were going to wear for Halloween. Charlotte was going to be Hermione from Harry Potter. Jack was going to be the Wolfman. I heard Julian was going to be Jango Fett, which was weird coincidence. I didn't think he liked hearing that I was going to be Boba Fett. On the morning of Halloween, Via had this big crying meltdown about something. Via's been so calm always and cool, but this year she's had a couple of kinds of fits. Dad was late for work. I was like, Via, let's go, let's go. Dad usually is super patient about things, but not when it comes to being late for work. His yelling stressed out Via even more, and she started crying louder, and then Mom told Dad to take me to school, and that's the deal with, she'd deal with Via. Then Mom kissed me goodbye quickly before I even put my costume on and disappeared into Via's room. Augie, let's go now, said Dad. I have a meeting. I can't be late for it. I haven't got my costume on yet, so put it on already. 5 minutes. I'll meet you outside. I rushed to started to put on my Boba Fett costume, but all of a sudden I didn't feel like wearing it. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I had all the belts that needed to be tightened and I needed someone's help to put it on, or maybe it was just because it smelled like paint. All I knew was There was a lot of work to put into a costume, and Dad was waiting, and I would be super impatient if I made him late. So the last minute, I threw the Bleeding Scream costume on from last year. It was an easy costume, just long black robes, big white mask, and I yelled goodbye from the door on the way out. But Mom didn't even hear me. I thought you were going to be Jango Fett, said Dad. When I got outside, Boba Fett. Whatever, said Dad. That's a better costume anyways. Yeah, it's cool, I answered. The Bleeding Scream. Walking through the halls that morning on my way to the locker was, I have to say, absolutely awesome. Everything was different. Now I was different. Where I usually walked with my head down low, trying to avoid to be seen, today I walked with my head up, looking all around. I wanted to be seen. One kid wearing the same exact costume as mine, long white skull face, oozing fake red blood, high-fived me as we passed each other on the stairs. I have no idea who it was, and he had no idea who I was. And it was a wonder. I wondered for a second if he actually even knew that he actually knew or ever done that, if he'd known who was under the mask. It was starting to think that it was going to be down to one of the most awesome days in history of my life. But then I got to the homeroom. The first costume I saw walked inside the door was Darth Sidious. It had one of those rubber masks and that looked realistic with a big black hood over it and a long black robe. I knew right away it was Julian. Of course, he must have changed his costume last minute because he thought I was going to become Jango Fett. He was walking two mummies, must have been Miles and Henry, and they were all kinds of looking at the door. They were waiting for someone to come through, and I knew who it was, a Bleeding Scream. They were looking for it. It was a Boba Fett. I was going to be sit at my desk as usual, but for some reason, I don't know why, I found myself walking over to a desk near them. I could hear them talking. One of the mummies saying, "It really does look like him." "Like that part especially," answered Julian's voice. He put his fingers on his cheeks and his eyes and his Darth Sidious mask. "Actually," said the mummy, "what he really looks like is one of those shrunken heads. Have you ever seen those? He looks exactly like that. I think he looks like an oar." "Oh, yeah? If I look like that," said Julian, kind of laughing, "I swear to God I'd put a hood over my face every day." "I've thought about this a lot," said one kid, second mummy, sounding serious. "And I really think if I look like that, seriously, I'd kill myself." "You would not," answered Darth Sidious. "Yeah, for real, I think I would," insisted the same mummy. "I can't imagine looking in the mirror every day, seeing myself like that. It would be too awful. And getting stared at all the time." "Then why do you hang out with him so much?" asked Darth Sidious. "I don't know," answered the mummy. "Tushman asked me to hang around with him in the beginning of the year, and he must have told all the teachers to put me next to him, or in class or something." The mummy shrugged. I knew the shrug. Of course I knew the voice, and I wanted to run out of the class right then. But I stood where I was and listened to Jack Will finish what he was saying. "I mean, the thing is, he's always follows me around. What am I supposed to do?" "Just ditch him," said Julian. I don't know what Jack answered because I walked out of the class without anyone knowing. I had been there. My face felt like it was on fire. And I walked out on the stairs. I was sweating under my costume, and I started crying. I couldn't keep it from happening. The tears were so thick that my eyes could barely see, but I couldn't wipe them because I had the mask on, so I walked looking for a tiny spot to disappear into. I wanted a hole I could fall into, a little black hole that would eat me up. Names: Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Gross Out, Lizard Face, Mutant. I know the names they call me. I've been through it enough. I've been to enough playgrounds, and I know that kids are mean. I know. I end up the second floor of the bathroom. No one was there because the first period had started and everyone was in class. I locked the door to my stall and took off the mask and just cried for I don't know how long. Then I went to the nurse's office, told her my stomach ached, which was true because I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. Nurse Molly gave my mom a phone call and had me lie down on the sofa next to the desk. 15 later, Mom was at the door. "Sweetness," she said, coming over to hug me. "Hi," I mumbled. I didn't want to ask anything until afterward. You have a stomach ache? She said automatically, putting her hand on my forehead to check my temperature. He feels like throwing up, said Nurse Molly, looking at me with very nice eyes. And I have a headache, I whispered. I wonder if something you ate, said Mom, looking worried. There's a stomach bug going around, said Nurse Molly. Oh, geez, said Mom, her eyebrows going up, and she shook her head. She helped me to my feet. Should I call a taxi, or are you able to walk home? I can walk. What a brave kid, said Nurse Molly, patting me on the back as she walked towards the door. If he starts throwing up or runs a temperature, you should call the doctor. Absolutely, said Mom, shaking Nurse Molly's hand. Thank you so much for taking care of him. My pleasure, answered Nurse Molly, putting her hand under her chin, tilting my face up. You take care of yourself, okay? I nodded and mumbled, thank you. Mom and I hugged the whole way home. I didn't tell her anything about what had happened, and later she asked me I felt well enough to go to trick-or-treating after school. I said no. This worried her, since she knew how much I loved trick-or-treating. I heard her say to Dad on the phone, he doesn't even want to have the energy to go trick-or-treating. No fever at all. Well, I will. If he doesn't feel better tomorrow, the poor thing. Imagine missing Halloween. I got out of going to school for the next day, too, which was Friday, so I had a whole weekend to think about everything, and I was pretty sure I would never go back to school again.